Welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're not just looking at a topic, we're sort of looking in the mirror.
Right, at ourselves.
Exactly. We've got this incredible visual guide here that covers, well, everything. And I mean everything. It's the entire history of us, of Homo sapiens.
It's a huge ambition, for sure, but it really boils down to one question.
Which is?
How did we get here? And not, here in this room, but how did this mediocre, hairless ape end up running the entire planet?
That is the core mystery, isn't it? And the opening image we have here just captures that tension so perfectly.
Yeah.
You've got this prehistoric cave painting of a hand. It's primal, it's dirty, it's very human, and it's connected by these bright red wires to a clean, robotic, futuristic hand. It feels like sci-fi, but it's not.
No, it's the whole arc of our existence in one picture. We are these biological creatures, rooted in the mud, but we've engineered this future that feels almost alien to our own bodies.
Animals that became gods.
That's the story. But we definitely didn't start that way.
No, we started as nobodies. Let's jump into this first section, the accidental latecomer. I love this timeline of reality graphic because, honestly, it kind of hurts my ego.
It puts us in our place, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
You see physics kicking off 13.5 billion years ago, matter, energy. Then biology finally shows up 3.8 billion years ago.
Then?
And then way, way down at the very end of this long ruler, there's this tiny, tiny sliver called history. It only starts 70,000 years ago.
And that's maybe the most important piece of context for this whole conversation. For 99.9% of existence, there was no history. Just biology.
We were just another animal.
Just another animal following the rules of nature. History, all our stories, our nations, our wars. It's a very recent, almost accidental glitch in the system.
So we're running brand new software on incredibly ancient hardware.
Precisely. And that hardware was not designed for this world.
Look at the next concept here. An animal of no significance. It's a food chain pyramid. All right, and this is surprising. If you ask someone today where humans are on the food chain, they'd say top. No question.
Of course.
But this chart puts the Homo genus 2.5 million years ago, smack in the middle. We're below lions, sharks, bears.
Well,
We're basically scavengers.
we were the ones cracking open bones to get the marrow after the lions had their fill. We lived in constant fear. And that fear is absolutely crucial to understanding why we act the way we do today.
You mean because we weren't born apex predators?
Exactly. Lions, sharks, they evolved into that top spot over millions of years. They developed a natural confidence.
Like humans.
We shot to the top in a biological blink of an eye. We never had time to adjust. The guide notes that this makes us anxious and dangerous.
I love that comparison it makes. Like Banana Republic dictators.
We are. We have
Okay.
the weapons of a god, but the deep, deep insecurity of a prey animal.
That explains a lot about geopolitics, honestly.
Yeah.
But getting to the top had a price.
Hmm.
The guide calls it the cost of thinking. It points out our brain is only 2 to 3% of our body weight, but it burns 25% of our energy. That seems like a terrible trade-off for an animal.
In the wild, it is a terrible trade-off. If you're spending all your energy on a brain, your muscles atrophy, you get weaker.
Right.
For millions of years, having a big brain didn't help us win a fight with a chimp. It just meant we were smart, weak, and very, very hungry.
So what was the turning point? How do we go from smart and hungry to ruling the world? That brings us to revolution, the cognitive revolution.
About 70,000 years ago, this is it. Some accidental genetic mutation rewired the sapiens' brain.
And the superpower we got wasn't super strength, it was complex language, specifically gossip. I have to laugh at this. Our superpower is talking behind people's backs.
Well, don't underestimate gossip. It sounds trivial, but it's the foundation of social cooperation. If you can't talk about who's trustworthy and who's a cheat, you can't build a society.
Okay, that makes sense. If I don't know that you stole Bob's food yesterday, I might trust you with mine today.
Precisely. Gossip builds trust. But there's a hard limit. The guide mentions the cap of about 150 individuals.
A Dunbar number.
Yes. Biologically, we can only really know and trust about 150 people. Any group larger than that, a tribe, a company, it starts to destabilize.
So if we're capped at 150, how do we have cities of millions or nations?
That requires what the guide calls the secret weapon. It's the difference between objective reality and imagined reality.
Okay, walk me through this.
Yeah.
On one side, we have a lion that's objective. It exists whether I believe in it or not.
Right. If you start believing in the lion, it will still eat you.
But on the other side, under imagined reality, we have things like God, nations, and limited liability
Certainly.
companies.
They're stories. They exist only because we collectively agree they exist. The United States, Google, the Euro, they aren't physical objects, they're powerful fictions.
The Tact has a great line for this.
The monkey one.
Yes, you can never convince a monkey to give you a banana by promising him limitless bananas in monkey heaven.
It's funny, but it's so profound. A monkey only deals in what's real right now. Bananas. Sapiens are the only animal that will trade real things for a story. We will die for a flag. We work our whole lives for digital numbers and a bank account.
And that shared belief allows millions of strangers to cooperate. I don't know the pilot of my plane, but we both believe in the story of the airline and the salary.
That's it. That's the key. We didn't conquer the world because we were smarter as individuals. We conquered it because we are the only species capable of flexible mass cooperation through fiction.
But conquering is a bit of a nice word for what really happened, isn't it?
It is.
The next map is titled The Deadliest Species in History. It tracks our migration out of Africa.
It's basically a crime scene map. Everywhere Sapiens went, the megafauna vanished.
The stats are brutal. Australia, 45,000 years ago. 90% of large animals go extinct. America, 16,000 years ago. Same story. We think of ourselves as eco-friendly until the steam engine, but this is otherwise.
We were an ecological serial killer long before industry. We just walked into these ecosystems where the animals had no fear of us, and we wiped them out.
So we wipe out the big game, and eventually we need a new food source.
Yeah.
That brings us to Revolution 2, the agricultural revolution.
Around 12,000 years ago.
And this is where the guide has a really provocative statement. It says, we did not domesticate wheat. Wheat domesticated us.
It's a total reversal of how we think about it, right?
Sounds like a trick. I mean, I'm the one eating the bread. The wheat isn't eating me. How can a plant be in charge?
Look at it from an evolutionary perspective. The only thing evolution cares about is making copies of DNA.
Good.
10,000 years ago, wheat was a rare grass. Today, it covers 2.25 million square kilometers. It won the game. How? By manipulating a clever ape to clear forests, dig ditches, and protect it from pests.
So we became its worker bees.
Exactly. And what was the human cost? Did life get better for the average person?
Well, according to this, no, not at all. A varied diet was replaced by monotony. Leisure was replaced by backbreaking labor. And suddenly we have hierarchy and disease.
We trade a pretty good life of wandering and hunting for a much harder life of breaking our backs in the sun to take care of this grass.
But we got civilization, we got cities, art, writing. Surely that's worth it.
But that brings us to history's biggest fraud. The graphic shows a scale. On one side, evolutionary success, lots of people, lots of DNA copies. That side is weighing it down.
And on the other side,
Individual happiness.
it's dangling way up in the air.
This is the luxury trap. It says, we worked harder for a better life that actually made life harder. That feels incredibly modern. It's like inventing email to save time, and now we just answer emails all day.
It's the recurring pattern of history. We chase power and numbers thinking it will bring happiness, but it usually just increases the burden. A farmer worked much harder than a forager. We fall into that trap every time. And to manage all these unhappy farmers, we needed stronger stories. The guide calls this the glue of civilization, imagined orders. And this might make some people uncomfortable.
It juxtaposes two major documents, the Code of Hammurabi from Babylon.
In the American Declaration of Independence.
Right. Hammurabi says the universal truth is hierarchy. You have superiors, commoners, slaves. The Declaration says the universal truth is equality. All men are created equal.
Two opposite ideas, both presented as absolute truth.
But look at the insight here. Biology knows no rights or equality. These are myths invented to allow mass cooperation.
Whoa, hang on a second. Are you saying human rights are a myth? Like Santa Claus? That feels dangerous to say.
It feels dangerous because we are believers in that story. It is a foundational story for our society.
Okay.
But from a purely biological standpoint, cut open a human, you find a heart, kidneys, DNA. You do not find a right. You don't find a particle of equality. These are concepts we invented.
So the Declaration of Independence is a fiction.
It's a useful fiction, maybe the most useful fiction ever told, but it is still an imagined order, just like Hammurabi's code was. He thought his hierarchy came from the gods. We think art equality comes from nature. Both are just stories to hold society together.
That is a lot to take in. We're held together by myths. And over time, those myths just got bigger. The next section is the unification of humankind.
Yeah, over the millennia, Thousands of little tribes dissolved into one global civilization, and the guide points to the three big mechanisms: money, empire, and religion.
Money is listed as the universal language of trust. I guess that makes sense. Even if we hate each other, we both trust the same piece of gold or the same dollar bill.
Think about it. Bin Laden hated American culture, American religion, American politics, but he loved American dollars. Money is the only story everyone agrees on.
So that brings us to the final and biggest accelerator, Revolution 3, the scientific revolution.
500 years ago, and the key word on this visual is just huge: ignoramus.
Which is Latin for we do not know.
And this was the radical shift. Before science, every culture thought they already knew everything important. It was in the Bible or the Quran. Science began with a revolutionary admission of ignorance. It said, we don't know, let's go find out.
And that unlocked the engine of growth. We see this feedback loop here between science, empire, and capitalism.
They're all completely intertwined. Science needs money from capitalism to build labs and telescopes. Empire needs science to build better cannons and maps to conquer new lands.
And the profits from those conquests get reinvested into more science.
It's a self-reinforcing loop, and it created this explosion of power. The guide notes that global production has increased 240 times since the year 1500. It's staggering.
But as we saw with wheat, massive growth usually disrupts our actual lives. This next visual is called the collapse of the family. It shows a Greek pillar crumbling.
And this is the biggest social transformation in human history. For millions of years, your family and your local community were everything. Your police, your bank, your hospital, your school.
If you didn't have a family, you're basically dead.
Pretty much. But the Industrial Revolution came along, and the state and the market said, hey, cut those cords, become an individual, we'll take care of you.
So the state now provides police and education, and the market gives you jobs and insurance.
It liberated us in many ways. You can marry who you want, live where you want, but it also made us more alone and more dependent on these huge impersonal systems.
Which brings us right to the edge of the future, the intelligent design section. And no, this isn't about a creator god.
No, it's about us becoming the creators. We're moving from 4 billion years of natural selection to an era of intelligent design. We are engineering life itself.
The 3 paths listed are biological engineering, cyborg engineering, and inorganic life. AI.
It's terrifying and exciting. And then there's the Gilgamesh project mentioned at the bottom.
The quest to defeat death.
This is the ultimate goal of modern science. For all of history, death was a metaphysical problem for priests. Now, for scientists, it's just a technical problem. A heart fails, a cell turns cancerous, and technical problems have technical solutions.
We're trying to make ourselves immortal, which leads to this last haunting image in the guide. The animal that became a god.
It sums up the whole journey. 70,000 years ago, an insignificant ape. Today, a being with the divine powers of creation and destruction.
We can create life in a lab and destroy the planet with a button.
But the text asks the real question, the final paradox. We are more powerful than ever, but are we happier?
And the answer is, we don't know. Maybe not.
It's the tragedy, isn't it? We've gone from stone tools to spaceships, but are we any more satisfied than a hunter-gatherer was? We have comfort, but we have alienation. We have power, but maybe we lack purpose.
So we spent all this time mastering the world around us, the lions, the wheat, the atom, but we haven't mastered ourselves.
We are dissatisfied gods. And that brings us to the final, chilling question to leave everyone with. Is there anything more dangerous than dissatisfied and irresponsible gods who don't know what they want?
Maybe the next revolution isn't about technology, but about figuring out what it is we actually want. Because if we don't, being gods is going to be miserable. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
It was a pleasure.
Keep thinking, and we'll catch you on the next one.